Have you ever been standing in a group conversation in English, waiting for the perfect moment to say something, and then that moment passes? Someone else speaks, and you never said a word. And then you do it again. And again, until the conversation ends and you've said nothing at all.
Oh, this is so real. I used to do this constantly. I'd have something to say, I'd know exactly what I wanted to contribute, and I just couldn't find the gap to jump in. And the longer I waited, the more the moment felt gone. So I just stay quiet and feel invisible.
And here's the thing. This isn't shyness. It's a technique problem. Joining a group conversation in English has a specific set of moves that native speakers use automatically, and nobody teaches them. Once you know them, you can join any conversation, anytime, with confidence.
So today on Word to World English, that's exactly what we're teaching. How to enter a group conversation in English naturally, without talking over anyone, without waiting forever for a gap that never comes, and without feeling invisible in a group.
By the end of this episode, you'll have the exact phrases and timing techniques to step into any English conversation smoothly, at work, at social events, with friends, and even with people you've just met.
Before we start, we want to hear from you. Has this ever happened to you? Standing in a group conversation and never finding your moment? Tell us in the comments. You are so not alone in this.
And if you're new to World English, subscribe right now. This is exactly what we do. Real skills for real English conversations.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the most important thing nobody tells you about joining group conversations in English.
Picture this. You're at a work event. Could be a team meeting, an after-work gathering, or a networking event. There's a group of 3 or 4 people already mid-conversation. You want to join, but the conversation is flowing, people are talking, and there's no obvious gap. What do?
Most learners do one of two things. They either wait so long they never join at all, or they interrupt awkwardly right in the middle of someone's sentence and immediately feel embarrassed.
But native speakers do neither. They use specific entry signals, small phrases and physical cues that say, "I'm about to speak," without cutting anyone off. Let's go through them. First entry phrase, "That's a good point. Can I add something?" This is the smoothest group entry in English. You acknowledge what was just said, then signal you want to contribute. Nobody feels interrupted. Second, building on what you just said. This one works beautifully in meetings. You attach your idea to theirs so it sounds collaborative, not like you're hijacking the conversation. Third, "I was just thinking about this actually," said with a slight lean forward. The lean is the physical signal. It tells the group you're about to speak before you've said a word. Fourth, "Sorry to jump in, but..." Yes, apologizing for joining the conversation. In English, this isn't weakness. It's courtesy. It smooths the entry and makes people glad you spoke. Fifth, "Oh, this is interesting. I had a similar experience." This one works perfectly in social conversations. You connect your contribution to their topic before launching into it. I used to completely avoid group conversations at work events because I had no idea how to enter them. Then I started using, "Can I add something?" And it was like a door opened. People would literally turn to include me and say, "Yes, go ahead." The phrase did all the work.
Let's try one. We're in a group conversation. I'm midpoint. You need to join.
And honestly, the issue with remote work is the lack of spontaneous conversation. You just don't bump into people the way you used to.
Sorry to jump in, but that's exactly what I found too. Building on that, I think the missing piece is intentional check-ins, not just scheduled meetings.
And that felt completely natural. Nobody got cut off, the conversation got richer.
So what would you say if you wanted to join right there? Pause the video and try one of the 5 entry phrases out loud. Pick the one that feels most like you.
The beginner mistake is waiting for a complete silence before speaking. In English group conversations, complete silence almost never happens. The entry happens in the brief pause between one person finishing and another starting, and you have about 1 second to signal you want that space.
Formal version. Meeting. If I could just add to that point. Casual with friends. Oh, wait, can I jump in? With someone you just met. Sorry to interrupt, I couldn't help overhearing, and I think all three do the same job at different registers.
Which entry phrase is your favorite? Drop it in the comments. Tell us the one you're going to try first.
Quick recap. 5 entry signals. Can I add something? Building on what you said. Leaning forward as a physical cue. Sorry to jump in, but. And connecting with I had a similar experience. All 5 are natural, none of them interrupt.
Let's run a real group conversation scenario. Imagine there are 3 people talking. I'll play 2 voices. You play the one joining in. Listen for the entry moment.
Ready?
So I was reading that more companies are going back to 5 days in the office now, which I find surprising.
Building on what you just said, I think the interesting part is that the companies pushing hardest for return are often the ones with the most senior leaders who prefer in-person. It's less about productivity data and more about comfort.
That's a really interesting angle, actually. Do you think that changes how younger employees feel about those companies?
Okay, let's break that down. 3 things worked there. First, building on what you just said created a bridge so the entry felt additive, not interruptive. Second, the contribution was specific and added a new angle, which made joining the conversation feel worthwhile. Third, ending with a question kept the conversation moving forward instead of shutting it down.
Now, here's what the wrong version sounds like. Mid-conversation, someone says something, and you say, "Yes, I also think," and start talking before the other person has actually finished. That's a real interruption. It breaks the flow and makes people slightly defensive.
The fix is always to wait for the end of a complete thought, not just a pause. A pause in the middle of a sentence is a thinking pause. A pause after a full point is an entry gap.
Now it's your turn. Say this out loud right now. Building on what you just said, I think, and finish with any thought you have. Say it with a slight lean forward like you mean it.
3 tips. First, signal before you speak. A slight lean, a small breath in, even raising one finger slightly. These tell the group you're about to contribute. Second, acknowledge first, then add. Never just launch in with your point cold. Third, keep your entry short. A long entry phrase loses people. 2 to 5 words, then your actual point. Write your own version of that dialogue in the comments. Pick any topic and practice joining the conversation naturally. Let's see it. The key moves from this section: bridge into the conversation, signal physically before speaking, and end with something that invites the group to respond.
Now let's talk about the harder moments. You try to join and someone talks over you. Or you start speaking at the same time as someone else. Or you join and the group doesn't really engage with what you said.
All of these happen to native speakers too. The technique is in how you recover.
If someone talks over you, use, "Sorry, I was just going to say," and then say your point calmly. The word "just" softens it. You're not accusing anyone of interrupting. You're simply claiming your space.
If you and someone else start at the same time, the natural English move is to say, "No, go ahead," with a small hand gesture. Let them speak, and then use, "Can I add to that?" when they finish. You've now created your own entry point.
If you join and your point doesn't land, the group moves on quickly, don't freeze. Try, "Oh, I just wanted to add one thing quickly," and restate it more concisely. Sometimes a point needs to be shorter before it connects.
Let me play someone who got talked over. You respond naturally.
And I think the remote work shift really changed how...
Sorry, I was just going to say that the shift also changed how we manage new people. It's much harder to onboard someone remotely than people expected.
That's a really good point, actually.
See how, sorry, I was just going to say, reclaimed the space without any confrontation? The tone was calm, the point was clear, and the group responded well. What would you do if you started speaking at the same time as someone else? Say your response out loud right now before we move on. Say it with me. Sorry, I was just going to say. Calm, clear, no apology in the tone, even though the word sorry is there.
The tone rule is everything here. Sorry said brightly and confidently sounds natural. Sorry said quietly and apologetically sounds like you're surrendering your turn, not claiming it.
Recovery toolkit. Sorry, I was just going to say. No, go ahead. Can I add after? And, oh, just one thing to add quickly. 3 tools, every situation covered.
Story time. Early in my English learning, I went to a work dinner and there was a big group conversation happening. I waited and waited for my moment, and eventually I just started speaking loudly, right in the middle of someone else's sentence. The whole table went quiet. Everyone looked at me. I said my thing. It was a perfectly good point, but the silence after was excruciating.
What happened?
I learned that it wasn't what I said, it was how I entered. I had no entry phrase, no signal, nothing, just suddenly talking. And that's actually our first common mistake, entering without a bridge. Wrong? Just starting to speak mid-conversation. Right? Building on what you said. Or, can I add something? 2 seconds of entry phrase changes everything about how your contribution lands. Mistake 2. Apologizing too much before your point. Wrong? I'm so sorry. I don't know if this is relevant, and I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, but maybe I just wanted to say something. Sorry. Right? Sorry to jump in. I think the missing piece here is 1 apology, then your point. The over-apology version actually draws more attention to the interruption than just jumping in cleanly would have. Try the right version now. Sorry to jump in, and then say any point out loud. Feel how much cleaner that is. Mistake 3, joining with a completely unrelated topic. In a group conversation, your entry should connect to what was just said, even briefly. Wrong? Group is talking about work, and you say, anyway, did anyone see the match last night? Right? That reminds me, actually. On a slightly different note, did anyone catch the match? The phrase, that reminds me, or on a slightly different note, is a pivot signal. It tells the group you know you're changing direction, which makes the change feel intentional rather than awkward. And notice, in every scenario, the right answer is about claiming your space deliberately, not waiting for it to appear on its own. Create your own group conversation scenario in the comments. Give a situation and 2 options and let the community decide which one they'd use. Real conversation is a dance, not a cue. You don't wait for your turn. You find the right moment and you step in with the right words and the right energy.
Mistake 4. Joining and then talking for too long. In a group conversation, entries should be contributions, not speeches. 2 to 4 sentences, then open it back to the group. Wrong? Joining and then talking for 3 minutes straight. Right? Making your point in 3 sentences and ending with a question.
Practice the right version now. Make a point in exactly 3 sentences and then ask, what do you think? It's a skill in itself.
Have you ever had an awkward group conversation moment? A failed entry, a talking over, a silence after your point? Tell us in the comments. It happens to everyone, and sharing it genuinely helps other people feel less alone in this.
Every awkward moment in a group conversation is data. It tells you something about timing, about register, about what that specific group responds to. And over time, that data becomes instinct.
Final section. What would you say? 4 real group conversation moments, 2 options each. Say your answer out loud before we reveal it.
Scenario 1. You're in a work meeting and someone makes a point you want to build on. Option A, wait until they finish, then start talking immediately. Option B, wait until they finish, lean forward slightly, and say, can I add something to that?
Option B. Option A might work, but option B signals your entry so clearly that the group turns to you. You don't have to fight for the floor.
Scenario 2. You and a colleague start speaking at exactly the same time. Option A, keep going and talk over them. Option B, say, no, go ahead, with a small gesture. Then use, can I add after, when they finish?
Option B every time. Letting someone go first and then entering deliberately is actually more powerful than winning the overlap.
Scenario 3. You're at a social gathering and a group is talking about travel. You want to join. Option A, wait until there's a complete silence, which never comes. Option B, find a brief pause, lean in slightly, and say, oh, I had a similar experience actually.
Option B. The silence you're waiting for in option A probably isn't coming. Use the natural brief pause between points. That's your gap.
Scenario 4. You joined the conversation, made your point, and the group moved on quickly without engaging. Option A, go quiet and feel embarrassed. Option B, wait one moment and say, oh, just one thing to add to what I said, and restate it more briefly.
Option B. Your point was probably good. It just needed a second chance and a tighter delivery. Don't abandon a contribution because it didn't land the first time.
And notice in every scenario, the right answer is about claiming your space deliberately, not waiting for it to appear on its own.
Create your own group conversation scenario in the comments. Give a situation and 2 options, and let the community decide which one they'd use.
Real conversation is a dance, not a cue. You don't wait for your turn. You find the right moment and you step in with the right words and the right energy.
Today, we covered so much. And honestly, this topic is one I wish I'd had years earlier. It would have saved me so many silent evenings at social events and work gatherings.
Here's what we took on today. We gave you 5 entry phrases for joining conversations naturally. We practiced a real group conversation and broke down exactly what made it work. And we covered the 4 most common mistakes, plus the fix for every single one.
And the biggest thing to take from today, joining a conversation isn't about waiting for permission. It's about using the right signal at the right moment. You have the phrases now. The next step is just using them.
Think about the next time you'll be in a group, a meeting, a dinner, a social event. Can you picture yourself leaning in slightly, saying, sorry to jump in, and making your point? That moment is closer than you think.
If today helped you, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, drop a comment, and subscribe to Word to World English. We're here every week with real techniques for real English situations.
This one genuinely matters to us because feeling invisible in a conversation is one of the loneliest feelings there is, and you deserve to be heard. You have things worth saying. Now, you have the tools to say them. We'll see you next time on Word to World English.